There we go. But I have to juggle Zoom accounts to actually hit the record button. Like I was on my work one, and then to hit record on this one, I have to.
Multitasking.
Yeah, it's funny. It bites me both ways too, because I always forget to change Zoom accounts, and then like I start a meeting, either this one or a work one, and I'm on the wrong one, and I'm like, all right, hold on a minute, everyone, while I sign into the right one.
You missed the great comedy opening of this meeting.
Aw, bummer.
Yes. We had a special guest coming into the view.
I commented on Rob's photo that it says he's wearing a shirt that says "YR Design Boss," and said that it was made by his boss. Why is he wearing Yuka's shirt? And my wife stepped into the frame and smacked me in the arm and said, "Don't say that."
I think she just proved your point for you.
Yes, exactly. You have nobody coming in, Matt. I mean, I see only pictures from the kid behind you. But,
no one's around at the moment, so I'm safe from that.
Safe. I see. This is our safe heaven, or
yeah.
Okay, good.
Cool.
Weather's nice.
Yeah. Let me.
Yeah, it's better. Yep. I hope it stays like that. But it looks like in a few days we're gonna get typhoons again.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So.
Cool. So we had an open S3 bucket on the legacy account that appears to be related to the Safecast 6D project. So I deleted that. Joe, I don't think you were on that thread, or maybe you were. But anyway, so I know that happened.
Yeah.
I saw it coming by.
Doesn't matter.
I replied there, but I don't think Nick responded. I think most of the buckets that are in that old account are related to like tile generation and things. I don't really know what most of those buckets are. I could open up the account to.
I think there's some from the Synthelizer project from Colin.
Yeah. Well, that was definitely the S6D. That was the one that was like open to the public, and apparently someone noticed and deleted all of the files that were in there. So I can't tell you what used to be in there. But such is life when you assign public right to a S3 bucket. But the other thing I wanted to call out was just that like there's a bunch of buckets in that account, and this account it's not critical, but the more we can move off of this account, the better, because it had like root API keys exposed on GitHub for some amount of time. So this is.
I think some buckets are also backup from RealTime.
Oh, maybe,
I think so, but I labeled them.
But yeah, it would be great to have someone who knows what all these are for look at deleting them or moving them, because I think they're the last thing that's on this account. I don't think there's anything else on this account other than these old buckets. So, and I mean, they can stay here, but it's a little hard to like say with 100%.
Yeah, which one is what?
That, like they won't. Well, and also it's hard to say that they won't get mucked with. I don't have access to like rotate the root keys. I don't know if anyone ever did. Like there might be someone out there that has the old root keys. It's a little tough. Like AWS won't even let us launch EC2 instances on this account anymore because of the key breach. So like it would behoove us to get off of this old account for all of this stuff. But
and all this stuff from Asian Pacific. I mean, I don't know who made that.
Yeah. So
Peter.
Peter. Yeah.
Probably.
Maybe get Peter.
I'm not sure.
Maybe Nick. I don't know. But something to mention. The more we can get this, the better. All of the main stuff for like the GUI uploads, all that sort of thing, like anything that's behind API.safecast.org, I moved all that to the new account. But yeah, there's this old account still hanging out there. If anyone is watching this recording and needs to get into that account, the infrastructure readme has a link to log into that account that should allow, if you're admin on the main account, it should let you just log in to the legacy account. Which I think is most of us, but if not, this at least has the account ID. So if you need to log in with old credentials or whatever, or let me know, I'm happy to cut a new set of credentials for folks to go around. I think Sean owns the password to that. For this.
Yeah, I think so.
So there's that. The other thing I wanted to mention on this, like the new reporting thing. So one of the things I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, like I was trying to figure out how to like do like cheap SSL.
Yeah.
But like, I just feel like it's taken a whole bunch of time. And I think what I'm going to do is just say that like, we're just not going to have SSL on the dev instance of this. Because that way I can just make it a single instance. I don't have to attach a load balancer. It's the Let's Encrypt thing is a little tricky. I mean, could I probably pull it off? Yeah. Would it take me like a day or two of focused work? Yeah. And like, could I probably spend that day or two doing something a little bit more useful than trying to save 18 bucks on our hosting bill? Maybe. So I think what I'm going to do is just kind of bite the bullet and say that like, if we really need SSL on any given environment, dev or prod, it just means we have to pay another 18 bucks a month for the load balancer, which is going to host the server.
But the normal one, the Grafana, is not the dev. That's secured. Okay.
Yeah, this is security. Yeah.
This is the most important.
Environments, I'll certainly keep load balancers in front of those. But yeah, any of the dev stuff, I think I'm just going to say that we're just not going to have a server.
Yeah, don't worry about that too much, because I only want the real exposure one to be SSL. That's good.
Cool. And I'm going to, that'll let me, if I do that, I think I should be able to button this up. And then what I want to do is, Robin has this PR that he opened shortly before his internship ended. And so I'd like to just push this forward. I think it probably, like, it's probably good as is. I might do like a little bit of visual cleanup before pushing it out, but I think it's probably pretty ready to go. So that was the next thing I kind of wanted to do, was get that buttoned up so we can start having our first non-real-time pages that look like real time. So they look like this. It's not deployed anywhere right now, otherwise I'd show you live. But, you know, basically it lets you get something a lot like what you might see on real time, but you don't actually have to manually go add anything to a WordPress database or anything like that. It's just fed right off the TP server.
But that's gonna run on the API server itself. Huh?
Yep. Yeah, it's a page on.
It's not really what we want, because it's if the API gets slow, if a lot of people can access it, the API gets slow down and it crashes, and I'm not a fan of that.
So especially this page, because it's not really even accessing a lot of things. If like, I would challenge that. The API is like our UI. If we want to avoid API being slow, I think what we should work on is getting the right path moved over to ingest, like moving uploads to ingest, that sort of thing. So the API just becomes like a read space for data. So like it's the one place we have where people can like authenticate and kind of like browse around and stuff like that. I don't want to set up another one of those. If we're worried about API instability, I think we should work on API instability, not building another UI.
I see. So, and what are the plans on moving a similar interface to the ingest database? Because I think that is much more extendable, and we can do much more things there.
Yeah.
Instead of the API.
Yeah, and we sort of, I mean, we already have a version of this going on right now. I think this, in a way, I would say this represents our first step in that direction, right? Is basically providing.
Yes, I can imagine that.
Yeah, and then we already have this, which is the ingest data, but grouped by region. So you know, I think we can expand on this as well in order to give more insight into the data that comes in via.
Looks like a contradiction.
How do you mean?
Ingest export.
Yeah.
It is.
It's an export from the data that came into ingest. I feel like our name would actually be a lot simpler if we didn't have two databases. And like, I'm not going to do it anytime real soon, but I would love to have a setup that when you do uploads, doesn't actually put it into the API database, but instead puts it into the database and start doing more there.
Yes, that would be nicer.
Yeah, I'd say the main blocker is we don't have a good answer as far as like ingest approval. Like right now, it all just sort of goes in, and there isn't any real like approval mechanism like we have for the bgeigy logs.
You have a suggestion for that? How to do that?
Yeah, well, Ray had a really good. Where was it? Ray had a really good write-up that I captured somewhere in here, and I can't remember where it was. What was in here?
You should filter it by Ray because he's probably not many comments there.
Yeah, that's a good point. I can probably just look in the issues themselves for Ray. This one. So we don't have any good answer on this right now. It actually factors in a little bit to what Joe and I were talking about, I think last week or the week before, about like it's probably time to start putting some tags on our measurement rows and seeing
Yes,
if
I
we
think so.
scale that efficiently. Because I think that would help answer this. Like if we can start adding in PostGIS, if we can start adding like just some basic textual tags to any given row, I think that would allow us to start doing this sort of thing, like basically saying, okay, we know that this section of data looks bad. Let's just mark it all with an appropriate for bad data in this form. I think originally the idea was like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if it was all like cryptographically signed and all that sort of thing? But I think Andrew made a good point that like that's kind of like a bridge too far. I think let's just focus on getting textual tags and trust that people aren't mucking around with our database.
Yeah, I think so.
That'll
blockchain.
be and then blockchain also comes up in this space. It would be cool. It would probably be really hard to implement, whereas I think textual tags are probably something that we can do. And especially now that we're on Postgres 11, I'm hopeful that an array of strings will not be that expensive to store. Like on Postgres 9.2, I know Nick would have been like, oh my God, that's going to kill us. So I think we're going to have to do a little bit of experimentation just to like make sure that's true. But I'm hopeful that Postgres 11 will be able to store a small string array column, or potentially like an enum column is another possibility. It seems like between those two things, there should be some way that we can store these efficiently on every single payload without breaking the bank as far as database storage goes. But someone will have to do some experimentation and figure that out. Cool. That's pretty much what I have going on. I don't have anything else I want to talk about. Any rumblings around what we might want to do for the anniversary next year?
No idea yet. But I want to ask you, Robin is still active, or he's
back in classes. So
I
he
noticed that there was not much going on.
Yeah. Like he did. It's pretty common with interns, right? Like they'll go back to classes, and usually the first thing they say is, "Oh, I'd really love to keep contributing," but they have to focus on school. So yeah, I mean, he might jump in on something at some point, but I wouldn't bank on it. I think we should assume he's offline at least until his next class break. So yeah, so that's why I'm going to plan to take this one over. I just want to get this out of the way, and I think my answer to getting it out of the way is I'm just going to defer the SSL problem and just say that if we need SSL, it costs $18 a month because you need to put a load balancer in front of it. So
18 bucks or 80?
18.
18. Okay.
Do you have? Yeah, and it's just the load balancer, because like the way we do SSL right now is we use the Amazon certs, which are cool because they're free, but you can only attach them to a load balancer. And originally I thought like there's like the legacy ELB and like the new ALB, like the application load balancer. Originally I thought that maybe the ALB would be like cheaper, but it's not. It's the same basic price. It's got some new features, but the base cost is still, regardless of your load balancer choice, any AWS load balancer costs $18 a month. And you can't use AWS certs unless you use an AWS load balancer. I did like, what I was thinking of doing was basically having like a GitHub action that requests a cert, and then like have the instances download that from S3. I did commit that. Andrew didn't seem to like that too much. So like I was exploring the space of like having each instance potentially request its own cert via Let's Encrypt. But it's a little tricky because like you can't, the way Let's Encrypt usually works is like you spin up one server, you tell Let's Encrypt, I want a cert, and it tries to query you back on that same host.
Yeah, on same server. Yeah.
But with a load balanced environment, the host that requested the cert might not be the same host that gets the query from Let's Encrypt. Like they could be two different virtual machines. And the way around that, from what I've read, is basically to have each instance do what's called a DNS challenge. But one, it's slow. It takes like 2 to 3 minutes for that challenge, as opposed to the the TCP version, which is pretty fast. And I'm like, we would have to figure out how to safely give every EC2 instance enough.
You cannot make a temporary link from the server to the load balancer, so the file looks like it's there, and Let's Encrypt picks it up, and then when it's finished, it removes the link.
Yeah, I don't think like. Yeah, maybe you could do something like when an instance boots up, it kicks out all the other instances from the load balance. But then like we might be underscaled. Like if we're trying to scale up, that means we're adding instances, and then that instance coming up is going to have to eject all the other instances to get it cert. Like I don't think that's going to go well. So which is why I sort of like this, but it's prefixed. It's it's like a little roundabout, but at least like it doesn't place DNS challenge in the scope of instance boot up and potentially like slow down scale ups and things like that. So, but I don't know. Like I said, I think for now the simplest thing is I'm just gonna like put that aside and just accept the fact that if we want SSL on a given environment, we have to pay $18 a month for that environment. And then just say that for the most part, we just won't have SSL on dev environments, which is pretty much true today, except for I think dev.safecast.org, which we can probably leave. I feel like that's critical enough to some people's effort.
Yeah, the top is fine.
Yeah, so an extra $18 a month, like just for that one to have SSL, I think it's probably okay.
And we cannot delegate the same certificate to another subdomain.
Well, we'd have to use wildcards for that, which I know Andrew wasn't happy about that solution.
Yeah, so why not?
Yeah.
If you have a wildcard for safecast.org.
Yeah, that's essentially what this solution would be. Anyway, so but in order to use what we do with the AWS certs today is we use a wildcard, but in order to use a cert for any given environment, you need to have a load balancer is $18 a month, and we have.
Hold on a second, I have a delivery coming, so I'll be back in a few.
I think we have 3 environments, so it's like $54 a month essentially for SSL. So not yeah.
I've been having bad luck with online materials this week.
Oh yeah, coming in.
Well, Rob's getting his I don't know, new devices, or who knows, perhaps they're bringing him food.
Yeah. Let me pull this up just to show kind of like what we're looking at. And I need to break in 10 minutes. Got another meeting. So we have, like, if I just look for prod, we have 1, 2, oh, not work. I'll skip over that. I don't know if there's a way to do like a not filter. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then +1 for dev. So it's going to be 5. So $90 a month is what we're probably going to target just for load balancers. So I don't know. It's like right on that cusp of, do I spend 2 days to try to save us $90 a month, or do I move on to other things?
Okay, Beck.
I was just calculating the number. So it looks like we have 4 prod environments plus dev API. Be 5 certs. So 90 or 5 environments that require SSL, which means they need load balancers, which means we're looking at about $90 a month just for load balancers. Like, this is not EC2, this is not RDS. This was actually a point brought up in my last call at AWS. I was like, is there anything we can do here? And like, basically they said like, the best thing you can do is like try to find people who can credit or sponsor you. there's no like reduced load balancer pricing that we could try to leverage for this space apparently. Or the other thing is basically what I was working on is use Let's Encrypt, but it looks like it'll be a little bit challenging to get that all set up nicely so that it doesn't potentially cause scaling problems down the road.
Did you check the bots they have for Let's Encrypt? There are certain bots they install automatically.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the challenge is the problem. Yeah, it's like,
yeah, I can imagine it.
Yeah, you have to do the HTTP challenge, which is easy when it's just one instance. But if you have multiples, you basically can't, because there's no guarantee that Let's Encrypt trying to check your challenge will come to the same instance that requested the cert. And then basically I poked around on the Let's Encrypt like forums and stuff like that, and it looks like the main solution is to use the DNS challenge. But like I said, the downside there is it's slow and it's going to be a little bit complicated to implement safely, because I don't want to do that and then accidentally give every VM full access to our DNS records, because
No, we don't want that.
that could lead to bad things.
That's very bad to do.
Yeah. Which is why what I was sort of thinking was basically have GitHub Actions do the DNS challenge, because then I can just do like a lockdown key just for that GitHub Action thing. So you'd have to be like a GitHub admin to be able to see that probably. And then this would do the DNS challenge for us, and then the instances would just pop it off at S3. So I don't know. Like I said, I think for now, $90 a month is probably not worth banging my head on it for much longer. And instead, I'll probably try to finish this work up so that I can jump onto this. Cool. I got a hard stop in 7 minutes. Anything you want to spend 7 minutes talking about?
Nope, I'm fine.
Cool. All right. Let me know if there's any news, especially Andrew made a good point that like when it comes to, project planning, like especially with the anniversary coming up, try to remind folks as you talk to them if we do see any sort of effort bubbling. That's the sooner that we can get a broadcast out, the better, so that folks like me or Andrew or Keito or whoever are not trying to scramble at the last minute to bring something to life. So.
But by the way, any updates from Andrew? He's going okay with job hunt?
Yeah, well, he's looking for a job. It's like the main thing.
Yeah,
so,
I know that.
and as far as I know, he hasn't found one yet. So best of luck, Andrew. We're rooting for you. Yeah, my guess is we probably won't see him until he secures stable employment.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
Right. So. Yeah, right. So if you know anyone looking for a solid developer, operations, security type person,
yeah.
You know where to
Or
find
maybe Peter knows somebody. We can ask Peter. To look for him.
I think he's in the loop at Elastic right now, but I haven't heard, clearly.
Oh, that's good. That's nice.
Yeah, but he's at least talking to recruiters and stuff like that at Elastic, which is good.
I think Elastic can use him too. I mean, it's a tool win, I think.
I'd like to get him in. So just a question of getting through the interview loop.
Okay,
cool.
Good.
All right. Well, I'll go jump on my other meeting then.
Okay.
Right.
Bye-bye then.
Talk to y'all soon.
Bye. I cannot wave my hand. I can only say bye-bye at the moment. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You too.